Hi guys, so in this video I want to talk about three topics. That's right, coming out the gate swinging. I want to talk about BBC's seemingly unfazed attitude towards the incredibly damning Russia report, Johnson hoping to high hell that we're as dumb as he thinks we are, and sort of an interesting tweet I got in the last week or so. So first and foremost, the Beebs. I do not typically watch BBC anymore. I will read certain articles, I'll go through things, but quite frankly this year has been such a shit show, I have had to take a step back for my own mental well-being. But this morning, considering that Fast and Loud wasn't on, I had BBC on for over an hour. And in that time they did not once bring up the Russian report. Now this is shocking, or at least it should be shocking, because the Russian report highlighted just how vulnerable we are to Russian influence. In fact, it highlights quite clearly that we have been played by Russia on a number of accounts. But Russia's interference seems to back the Conservatives. And the BBC themselves are in this weird situation. Their entertainment, like Doctor Who, is so left-wing and SJW, it's insulting to anyone with a brain cell. And yet their politics is so right-wing. They have been covering for Johnson and his disgusting group of cronies, well, for over a year now. This is a massive problem. BBC can't ever claim to be the watchdog of the country when they're not actually calling politicians out, unless of course they're on the left. So in this hour, because you can make the argument, okay, well, you know, there's a lot going on, but in this hour they repeated themselves after 20 minutes. Now, for a lot of people, you sit down, you have the news on maybe in the morning, while you're getting ready for work, while you're having your breakfast, which is why they repeat things so much. And then you're out the door going to work. But considering that it's a Saturday, less people are going to work, more people will be paying attention. But after 20 minutes, they started repeating themselves. And in about 90 minutes, the only variations to gyms opening up, which seemed to be their key thing, indoor swimming pools opening up, and a book about the royals, or at least the ones that left for Canada. The only real variations were an American man who won the lottery and gave, I think, half of it to his mate because they agreed on it 30 years ago, and Shed of the Year. Now, I agree there needs to be good news, because this year has been a shit show, and that's why I haven't done as many videos this year. I can't. I need good news, and there's been so very little of it this year. But someone at the BBC has decided that Shed of the Year is more important than talking about the Russian report that Boris Johnson sat on for 10 months. Boris Johnson, who again, as I said in my previous video on his Prime Minister's Question Times, Boris Johnson was flagged up as a massive security risk when he was made Foreign Secretary because of his links to Russia, because he takes so much money from Russia. This man sat on a report for 10 months. Nothing. Nothing at all. So maybe we should rename BBC RBC. But there you go. So the next one, as we're talking about Boris's interview with Laura Kuenssberg, someone who is so far up Tory arseholes, she constantly looks like she's smelling shit. During this interview, he said things that got me as a care worker pretty riled up. Again, But one of them is that, yeah, maybe we did handle things wrong in the first weeks and months. First and foremost, if you have to throw months into your time frame, don't say weeks, because weeks is already gone. You've gone to months. It's not 2 months and 1 week. You're fucked up consistently. But he said things along the lines of nobody knew that you could be asymptomatic and spread the disease. No, that is not true. This government has failed, and Boris is hoping that people are dumb enough to fall only for his bullshit, and hoping that they don't look elsewhere. Here's the simple facts of it. China told the World Health Organization about the outbreak in December. The World Health Organization quickly told everyone else to get ready, to get prepared, because a highly contagious airborne pathogen was now released. The details of why, irrelevant for the moment. Mid-January, scientists and medical advisors were telling the government, look, you need to be taking this seriously, we need to be acting right now. They did nothing. When it actually hit in February, Boris Johnson went on his second holiday of the year. At this point, the overwhelming consensus from the scientific community, from the World Health Organization, from medical professionals was, you can be asymptomatic and spread this disease. It is incredibly infectious. We don't know how high the infection rate is. And just because you've had it, you've survived, and you've got temporary immunity, again, it might just be temporary. There's no guarantee that you can't get it again in the future. There's no guarantee that you survived it once, you'll survive it again. There is no guarantees. But what we do know, again, this was back in February, is that it is incredibly contagious, and if you are asymptomatic, you are still spreading the virus. The fact that Boris Johnson came out and said, well, we just didn't know. Maybe Boris didn't because this is a lazy, good-for-nothing SOB who never wants to do the work. But everyone who is listening to scientific advisors knew. And they knew as far back as February at the very latest. But every time it cut from that segment, again, from BBC, they didn't point out the fact that no, scientists have been warning about this since February, January, December. They are not calling Boris Johnson out for his lies. They are not holding the government responsible. And the reason why this is so infuriating is because the BBC demand that we pay them just because we own a TV. It is disgusting. Finally, third topic. About a tweet I got. The tweet was an interesting one because the tweet was, I can't remember the exact figure, but it was something, I tweeted something out about Brexit. And the response from someone was, hey, well, here's all the trillions that the EU are spending on a vaccine for the coronavirus. Guess how much Britain's paying into that? 0 for the win. It's not really a win though. You see, here's the thing, and I genuinely hope Brexiteers can actually understand this. £1 trillion, dollars, euros, whatever currency you want to go into, is a lot of money. But it's not necessarily a lot of money compared to a country. Now, if a country just wastes it, like the millions upon millions upon millions that we've wasted this year just with the coronavirus, giving it to private companies that can't do the job, giving it to mates of Dominic Cummings who can't do the things that they're promising to do, then it is a ton of money that we've lost. And they don't ever get to say, oh, we haven't got money for education. You had it, you gave it to your mates. Fuck off. But this Brexiteer seemed to be celebrating because we're not putting any money into this EU scheme. I can't remember the exact figure, but let's say for argument's sake, 5 trillion. 5 trillion split between 2 countries. is incredibly easy to manage, depending on the country, of course. But you look at, say, Germany and France. They could invest 5 trillion into something that will save lives of literally millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people. It's absolutely worth the price tag. But 5 trillion split between 27, 28 countries, that is nothing. And let's hark this back to the start of the year, when our beautiful isolationist government refused to take part in the PPE procurement scheme. We had nurses contract the coronavirus because they didn't have PPE. Nurses have died because this government didn't want to invest in something that would save their lives. Something that would have been cheaper for them if they had invested in the program rather than trying to do it off their own backs. Because again, let's remember, that shipment of PPE that came from Turkey, that was so bad it had to get sent back. And this is after nurses have chosen to use bin bags as PPE. This shit was so bad it was worse than just a damn bin bag. When it comes to not just things like vaccine programs, which we've also decided we're not going to have anything to do with. When it comes to things like procurement schemes and things of this nature, for a single country to set up on its own and invest in its own, that is going to be incredibly expensive. For 2 countries to split the burden, that makes a world of difference. For 27 countries, 28 countries, to split the financial difference and all reap the benefits, every single person or every single body that is paying into this will get far more out of it than what they're actually putting in. So this person on Twitter seemed to be boasting and happy that we weren't paying into this scheme. Thousands of people have just been given their death sentence because of it. And we're not going to see any benefits of it. It's not like we're going to save money on this, because doing it our own way, even if we get it right, which is not something this government has a history of doing, it's going to cost us way more than if we were actually communicating with our literal and figurative closest allies. So there you go, there's my 3 stories for the week. I might try and do this instead of doing the odd one, but honestly it depends if I can smash out these videos. Obviously this year has not been like last year. So there you go, those are my 3 stories for your Saturday. I might try and do this format more, put together a collection of stories and put them out in one video as opposed to doing one video per topic. But I am working multiple jobs, and this year has been such a shit show, I have needed to walk away from politics and from news in general. So let me know. You can follow me on Twitter, you can comment down below. I do my best to respond to all of them if I think I have anything worthwhile to contribute. Take care, wear your goddamn mask, and don't vote Conservative.